Thank you. So we were on C, staff report. Did we complete that? That was a long time ago.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Apologies. I think we were just bringing to close my verbal report on
Okay.
a UBCM
UBCM.
productive convention. It often goes, I guess what I would add is it often goes said, the convention in terms of being able to network with colleagues, share stories, share challenges, share successes just could not be overstated. And the convention in terms of help for me right now as CAO is incredibly valuable. So thank you for council. Thank you to council for sending me.
Thank you. Okay, D. Oh, we have to, sorry, Councillor Bichette.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the mayor to the CEO, we're going to get a written report on that soon.
I guess that's a good question. In terms of staff's capacity right now, council, so I'd be happy to write a report. But given the fact that I just gave a verbal report, I would suggest it will take some time to get back to council amongst the other priorities.
Okay. Thank you. D. Regarding the staff report or verbal report on the economic development.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to give council an update on this, this particular initiative is what I would sort of say at current stage a little bit dynamic. The meetings with the economic development, Ministry of Economic Development staff at the UBCM convention, in addition to meeting with SRD staff at the UBCM convention, unveiled some unique opportunities that might be available to the village regarding its economic development officer position with ICE-T, with the ICE-T grant. I continue to work on that. I've got a scheduled meeting with SRD staff the week after next to discuss that further. It's a project that is slightly behind schedule in terms of our planning, but what I would say is I'm pleased with the fact that it's behind schedule. When I first made the application to ICE-T, I was relatively new as CAO in the village. I had a limited amount of background information, and I've since discovered quite a bit, as well as a couple of other opportunities that might benefit the village in terms of how we shape this particular position. So I look forward to bringing an update to council soon about that.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so the recommended resolution that C, staff report, and D, staff report be received.
I'll move that.
Second,
I'll second that.
discussion? All in favor? Opposed? 2 opposed. It is carried. Bylaws, permissive tax exemption, bylaw 503, 2023. Recommended resolution that the permissive tax exemption bylaw 503, 2023 be given first, second, and third reading. Do you have a motion, please?
I'll move that.
Thank you. Second,
I'll second that.
discussion? Councillor Bichette?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just regarding, I guess, through you to staff, is there any progress on the negotiations with Nature Trust as discussed in the last meeting? Thank you.
CAO?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If memory serves me correctly, at the last meeting during the discussion period, I asked a specific question of council whether the motion to bring this this first, second, and third reading back to council was contingent on negotiating with Islands Trust, or whether it was being emphasized that that council wanted staff to engage in negotiations with Islands Trust. And the latter was what was confirmed, that this permissive tax exemption bylaw is not contingent on negotiations. But council were reminding staff that council wants staff to enter into negotiations with Islands Trust. So tonight I'm just sensing that somehow this reading is contingent on negotiations. If I'm incorrectly sensing that, then I stand to be corrected.
Councillor Burchett?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was adamant that it was contingent on it, and I also volunteered to help with that and in whatever capacity. I'm also writing a letter to get support from council to the Minister of the Environment to get his say on this and get him on board too. So I'll have that letter prepared for council as well. So I'd like to have this motion that it's contingent on the negotiations going through.
Councillor Tinsley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I recall specifically when the vote came up for this, that I wanted it made clear that this was not part of a negotiation process. We all agreed that. We voted on this. I totally agree with the CAO's position, and any other proposition is totally separate from what we are voting on now. We voted to accept this permissive tax exemption without conditions. Thank you.
Correct. Councillor Burchett?
Having another 5 years without an extension of Kelly's Trail is very unsafe considering the industrial road and the conflict and safety issues with tourists and industry using the same road. It would be better for the citizens of Sayward and tourists that have a public access that doesn't interfere with industry logging trucks. I think that now is the time to negotiate. I've been trying to get this going since I've been a councillor in Sayward, and I'd like to see it go through.
Councillor Tinsley, last word, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe Councillor Burchett has an interest in this area, which I appreciate. That was brought forward relative to staff looking towards that. And it's also a motion that the councillor can bring forward further at another meeting. Otherwise, I believe we are moving forward with what has been previously approved. Thank you.
And from what I understand, I mean, even by this vote that's coming up on first, second, and third reading, that does not prevent us from having those negotiations or discussions with them. Councillor Paulson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you look back to the September the 5th minutes that are in our package, and number 12B, there's motion R23/241, where it was after the permissive tax exemption, and it states that staff begin negotiations with Nature's Trust to extend Kelly's Trail and provide safe parking for tourists and locals on Sayward Road, and that was carried.
Right, that was, again, does it not state after the tax exemption? Is it not CAO? Your microphone, please. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, for council, yes, the Councillor Paulson is correct. As it's written for staff to begin negotiations. But again, can I just ask, maybe I'm creating a conversation that doesn't need to happen here. I'm sensing right now that moving this permissive tax exemption bylaw forward is in some way, shape, or form connected to a negotiation with Islands Trust. If I'm sensing that incorrectly, I stand to be corrected. But I want to clarify, staff understands that council wants to see negotiations begin with Islands Trust. Okay.
Correct, and it had no relation. Councillor Tinsley, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for Councillor Paulson for pointing that out. It's very clear in there that it was not a condition of us passing this. It was agreed, it's documented in the tapes that I asked that specific question as well. And it is not in those wordings of the minutes, it is not a condition. The direction to staff was, yes, we would like to start negotiating, but it is not a condition of this. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Burchett, last word, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So what Councillor Tinsley is saying, that safety is not a condition for Sayward or the residents of Sayward, because this is a safety issue. And was stated very clearly that's a safety issue. I've been trying to get this done since I've been a councillor. This isn't a new item. I brought it to staff's attention and council attention many times. We need to start this. This has to happen. This is for the betterment of Sayward and for the safety of citizens and tourists. It's unacceptable that it's not going forward when it's clearly we voted on it.
Yeah, again, the vote was that it had nothing to do with the tax exemption. We were going to start negotiations with Island Trust. So we're moving on. Do we have a note, Councillor Tinsley?
Sure, I'd just like to respond to the other Councillor Burchett representation that I am not interested in safety. This has never been brought forward as a safety issue. I believe all our conversations on this point have been covered relative to the vote on this matter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So again, we're on permission tax, first, second, and third reading. Do we have a motion, please?
I'll move that.
Second,
I will
I'll
second that.
second.
discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Two opposed, motion is carried. Zoning amendment bylaw 504, 2023, that the zoning and the bylaw 504, 2023 be given first and second reading. Do I have a motion, please?
I'll move that.
Thank you. Second,
I'll second that.
discussion? Councillor Paulson?
Is this the Adama report that we're voting on? I thought we talked about tabling it until the further information from Kevin, whatever his last name
No,
is.
what the CEO stated on that picture, that diagram you have, it was over top of an easement and that was just going to be moved. That was the only issue that was correct. CEO, sorry, your microphone, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. For council, staff's aware of how important this topic is for council. Mr. Adama has been before council numerous times, and I know council wants to see this initiative move forward. In the absence of the map, which I hope to have had to you tonight, what I'm stating to you is for the sake of first and second reading and my verbal to you that there's nothing critical in that map. The correction is a minor correction. It's a line adjustment, and there's nothing critical in that drawing or not having that drawing there for you right now that I would suggest sort of preempts you from supporting first and second reading and keeping it moving forward. We'll for sure have the amended map to you when we proceed forward with the next step.
So this is instead of holding it up more for Mr. Adama, we should, in my opinion, we should vote on it. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. New business, none. Sorry,
I didn't have a chance to, Mr. Mayor, to introduce my late item where I have
yeah, you're,
a note presented to mayor and council, and I have three recommendations there, and I would like to be able to read that out.
No, ma'am.
Excuse me?
I'm sorry, Counselor Paulson, it's a point of order. Some of the points you're bringing up are in-camera issues and we're not going to be discussing it at a public meeting at
I-
this point.
Thank you. I would like to challenge your point of order because
fine.
there is nothing in this letter that breaches any confidentiality or anything about the in-camera.
Okay, so you're
Sessions.
challenging the point of order. Do we have a vote on the point of order? So, sorry, CAO?
Hmm.
Your microphone, please. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, in fairness, at an earlier time in the agenda, I brought to your attention that you, when you were beginning to provide a verbal report, I brought to your attention that you did not add that to the agenda at the time of late items. I'd respectfully suggest that we treat the situation fairly and in the same way. And this item was not added at the time of the late items to the agenda, and that it be brought back to a future council meeting.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Burchett?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What community charter bylaw are you citing your point of order?
Well, first of all, as the CAO pointed out, introduction of late items are done at the beginning of the meeting. So just on that alone, you can't add something to new business without it being part of the introduction at the beginning of the meeting, period. Thank you. So
According to the community charter 132, number 1, if a point of order is called and challenged, the mayor may not vote on the motion under subsection 2, and the motion passes if votes are equal. So I would like to call the vote.
it was a procedural issue. You did not have it part of the introduction of late items. So it's not going to happen. So if you like, you can take it up with legal. I have no
Yes.
issue with that at all. But in the method of the delivery and the delivery to the public was unbecoming and should not have ever been done. So we're moving on. And we can discuss it later if you like, or with legal. Okay,
Both, yes.
so the public question period is 15 minutes. And we can vote on the point of order, but it doesn't matter because it was not procedural. In our procedural bylaw, it clearly states if an item is not part of the agenda, then it is not introduced later on in the agenda.
I would like to review the tape, and when I asked for it to be introduced as a late item, I believe you said okay, and then we moved on. So
No,
I-
not for this to be okay. No, that's incorrect. But please review the tape, but that was not given. Okay.
Yeah.
Counselor Tinsley for last comment,
Oh, thank you,
ahead.
Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I
and
think
then
it's
Counselor
very,
Burchett.
I think it's very reasonable that that this issue be the counselor involved can bring it forward to a next meeting for consideration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Last comment. Counselor Burchett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You just said we're going to vote on it. So we're going to vote on it and then allow Councillor Paulson to continue?
No, I made a procedural error. Procedures state that if an introduction of late item is not done at the beginning, it is not brought in as a surprise thing later on in the meeting anywhere. Now, you're welcome to read that and you're welcome to have your legal counsel read it, but that's how an agenda is formed. So if you have any issues with that, you can take it up later. Okay, thank you. Question period. Maximum 15 minutes for the purpose of question period able the citizens to ask a question of council about issues that are important to the citizen asking the question. Speaker may ask to limit their questions to one each, and if time permits, everyone would have an opportunity to ask a question. Speakers may ask a second question, sorry. Citizens will be asked to state their name and address.
May I speak first to this, the public question period and the items that are on this agenda about what was talked about at, what was brought up by the public last time. And as I go through these, I see that there is no indication about how it will be followed up with and who will follow up with the information provided by the public. So I would like to request that when something is brought up, that it is duly dealt with in the way that the responses are presented to the person in question, and that all of council is aware of what those responses are.
And Councillor Tinsley?
Just a point of order. We are around the public's input now. If the counselor would like to bring the subject she has brought forward at another meeting, she can add it to the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree, because this is public question period. So back to public question period.
We have a question from the public who is my wife here, if there's no one else.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Yes, my name is Mark Agnew, 754 Sabre Road.
Hear 'em.
My question's the same question it's been since May regarding the illegal zoning in our neighborhood. Kiers was going to give us an answer in August. He didn't. He was going to give us an answer in September. He didn't. And he was going to give us an answer tonight, and he didn't. So I started out by saying, talking about compounding errors. Well, this is a good example of that. And now it's leading to, intentional deception, where I'm being promised things, but I'm not getting any delivery.
I think,
So I'm going to sit down now.
okay, I think earlier, as we said to your spouse, that John Manson and the CAO are working on that, and they will be bringing a report back to council. Sure.
John Manson has been working on this since last September. That's over a year for him. I talked to John
Okay.
Manson and John France in John France's office right over here
Okay.
last September.
CAO, how close is that report? Any idea?
Mr. Mayor, it's close. But I will say that I did not unequivocally ever promise something in August or September or October. I've continued to correspond with Mr. and Mrs. Agnew, give them updates. I think all of my updates have indicated that we will continue to update them as new information comes available. There's been no promised dates, and so we're working on it. My last exchange, or second to last exchange with them, was that we were pleased with some of the information that we were finding, but it was a complex issue. And so we're working through those, presenting council with options.
Okay, thank you.
Lightning, both sides of the mountain. We've been being dragged around by you guys, forever, and it's bullshit, really.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, but it is. And we've been promised information. I've been hung up on this guy in June, told me that, why are you two picking on us? I said, we're not picking on you people. We want answers. And he hung up on me. So, I didn't say anything about that, but now I am. I'm pissed off. And I
Thank
will
you.
go further than this. I'll take it higher than this if I have to. I'm going to go to the First Nations in regards to all the wetlands here you're screwing up.
Thank you. Anybody else? Go ahead.
Did you say there's only one question allowed or?
Yes, at first. That's correct.
At first,
That's correct.
I have five.
5 is going to be too many. So you'll have a total of 2 questions. That's
I have
correct.
to make them fast. You're a fair person. It's directly to you,
Sure.
addressed. What I'm seeing is that last week, last meeting, Council Burchett made, sound and then did that, right? And you canceled him. No warning, no nothing. Mr. Tinsley interrupted 3 times. He was not reprimanded. Being a fair person that you are, I only have 2 minutes. I don't.
No, but if I ask a question or make a statement, your
Oh,
time is
this is just
extended.
my statement.
Okay, thank you.
You
Go
don't
ahead.
have to answer.
Okay.
Because
Sure.
that's my observation. All of this is just my observation.
Okay, fair enough.
Is there something wrong with this microphone, do you think?
No, what happens, that microphone only goes into the recording. It doesn't broadcast to the people in the room.
I see.
It just goes onto the recording.
The last meeting that we had, about half a minute of what I said is missing from the YouTube. How come? I know you would be pissed. Somebody would be pissed without say, I'm sorry, my language, upset.
Yeah,
With what I was saying, but why is half a minute missing?
I have no idea, but CA will check into it for sure.
Is that my 2 questions?
I'm afraid there was 3, but yes. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, you
I-
got your second question. Counselor
Yes.
Tinsley and Counselor
Mr.
Burchett.
Mayor, my wife, who's a member of the public, would like to
Oh,
ask a question. I'll just
I'm-
ask her to step
I'm
up here.
sorry.
Thank you.
One moment, please. Yeah, because it's just her first question. Go ahead.
Sorry, takes me a little while to move. Can I just have this chair? Excellent. So this is completely off anything that you guys have been talking about, but it's something I've been interested in is the whole question of chickens. So I'm just wondering, I've been holding off doing any more research on it because I realize it's not a very urgent thing, but I just like the guidance of council. Like when should I start doing my little research thing that I was going to do in order to back up my thing from like, I don't know, a year and a half ago or something about requesting, allowing chickens.
Yeah,
in the
the
village.
CAO, sorry.
That's it.
Oh, sorry,
That's my
can you
question.
could you give your name and address, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Karen Tinsley, 531 Macmillan Drive.
Okay, thank you. The CAO, pardon me, and I have been having conversations about that. And I've been assured, I think it's the next meeting where the chicken report is
Okay.
coming to council.
Okay, do you require my input or is the staff doing that research and mine would just be superfluous?
There was an extensive report done in the past. I don't know, CAO, do you need any more input?
I'm leery to provide comments. Candidly, I'm not sure what the position of Mrs. Tinsley is in relation to the chickens, if she's for it or against it.
I'm for it.
Okay, thank you. I do recall calling the Tinsley residents. I think when I first began, I found an email by happenstance and I followed up on it. And I think I was informed at the time that it wasn't a high priority for the household. And when I got up to speed, give them a call on it. Is that correct, Mrs. Tinsley?
Yeah, that would be fine. I just wanted
Okay.
to, I don't
Yeah.
want to just drop it, that's all.
Not being dropped.
Not
Yeah.
being dropped.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Counselor Burchett?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to put a motion on the floor to extend question period to make sure everyone has their questions that they're allowed to ask.
everybody gets a second opportunity if time permits. He's got a motion on the floor. Anybody second that?
I'll second it.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none? Continue. So, sir, please, second question.
Bill Mark Agnew, still 754 Sayward Road. In rebuttal to Kears, I would suggest that he checks his email and remember exactly what he wrote down on them. And also the minutes of some of the past meetings where I stood here and suggested that we get down on this.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Mhm.
Stuff that comes along with it, and we see none of it here. It's all in-camera meetings. We get to know nothing about what's going on. We get to not ask questions about it. We get no answers. So what goes on behind the cameras?
Well, soon we'll do a rise and report. But legally, we cannot discuss what's in camera until we rise and report. And once we do a rise and report, you'll be up to speed on all of it.
Okay, I have
Okay.
a second question. Do I have to sit down first?
To the procedure bylaw, yes, but however, just go ahead.
Okay, you got my name. Now,
You haven't moved.
with lot 18 that's coming up over down here at the waterfront,
Yes,
why do they get so much? They're right up there getting everything done they want done, and we get nothing done with our little lot.
no, he's been working on that for 4 years.
We've been
So-
working since Bob Broadbent Brockman started that lousy
Yeah.
subdivision.
Yeah, no,
It
we're
was longer
we're
than
on it.
4 years.
okay. Thank you. Anybody?
That's an answer.
Well, we've only been on council here for less time than you've been dealing with it.
You've had lots of
Um,
other people here on council.
Yeah, the CAO is working on it with John Manson. And I'm sure it's going to be a top priority for him to do.
I'm telling you, they're top.
And that's your choice, ma'am. Okay, anybody else? One last question? Please.
Melina Gradisar, 261 Ambleside. There's a question about a parking lot and making it safe and all that stuff, right?
Yes.
For the trail over there. What happens if there's a fatality? Who is, or an accident? Who is responsible? Is the council responsible? Just the ones that do not agree with it? The ones that do not have an issue much about the safety? Are the other people exempt from criminal charges, whatever it is? I don't know.
No, I would assume that any accident that takes place on that road involving, say, a pedestrian or another car would be handled by the RCMP, just like any other accident would be.
Yeah, but somebody here is suggesting a better way so that the accident doesn't happen, being blocked each and every way. So who, like, if it was me and walking down there and I was hit because there was no parking, no way of getting there, I'd be coming after you.
Understood. Thank you.
So how come we're stopping people from trying to provide safety?
We're not stopping anybody from providing safety. There is,
Seems to me, sorry.
okay,
but
no,
But it's taking longer than I would expect. And eventually probably will be done.
well, this was done again from council back, I think, in 2018. And they had no success with Nature's Trust at all. We're going to be revisiting it
Yeah.
again. And we will have conversations with them. And we're going to bring up the fact that people in the community are concerned about safety. So how do we address that? Because if Nature Trust is telling us we can't, then we need valid reasons from them on why we can't.
So Nature Trust can be responsible if there's fatality, you wouldn't be?
Nature's Trust, they own the property. We do not.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Councilor Burchett?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just with regards to the motion that was just passed, you said you had 5 questions, Melina. Feel free to ask your questions because the motion was,
One at a time, Councilor Burchett, and that's the way it's written. So Here it's on both pages.
We
there.
just had a motion that allows the
extend the
residents of
question
Sayward to ask as many questions as they
Okay,
need.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's the motion, correct, CO?
Nope, go ahead.
Things I've noticed, Steve Ralph, 1664 Sayward Road. At the beginning of the meeting, we were talking about procedures, you guys were talking procedures. And the people would be thrown out if they were doing things like interrupting. You, Mayor, I have witnessed you interrupt, Paulson and Burchett several times. No one's asked you to leave yet.
Point of order.
No, just you interrupted her, you just interrupted him like 5 seconds ago.
Procedurally, he's not supposed to be speaking at this time.
You did say.
Thank you.
But that was just my, what I'm seeing.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so my question is, if there is a bullying issue going on and then all these issues going on, are you guys gonna do something to fix it? Cause it seems like a problem. Watching from the staff, I see a huge problem here. Mayor, yeah,
Mhm.
plans to fix it.
As I said, we're going in camera. Our in camera is to deal with what is going on. And once we rise and report, then everybody will be aware of it. But we cannot discuss publicly what we discuss in camera until there's a rise and report.
And second question, in here on the agenda, it's
What do you-
about the parking lot. It says it's a safety issue, but Councilor Tinsley told Councilor Bichette that nowhere is it presented as a safety issue, but it says in the writing, a safe parking lot. So I just wanted to regurgitate that.
Thank you. No, you're good. Okay. Okay. That's it. Thank you. So in camera, the recommended resolution that in accordance, oh, sorry. Sure, please come to the microphone. Okay.
Any questions as we needed to on a time period. We had a time period when we stood up and asked questions. There was no one question, two questions. You had a time limit. So however many questions you could put in that time limit, you could ask, and then they would be answered. Is that not the case anymore?
Well, what happened is the last council eliminated the first question period. Was not there anymore. It was only at the end. We brought back, this council has brought back the two question periods, one at the beginning and one at the end. And it used to be that the first question period, you weren't allowed to speak on anything on the agenda, if you remember correctly. The first one before. We brought it back to where you can ask questions on the agenda or any other matters. It didn't have to be on the agenda. And the same thing on the second, but however, it does state that you're allowed one question, then you said somebody else asks a question. If nobody else asks another question within still that time, then you can ask a second question. But it goes to those two questions as clearly stated.
So then what you've done is changed it so you can only ask two questions at your time limit. at
Unless
your
time permits, unless time permits.
And then you may
That's
come
correct.
Back up and do it again.
That's correct. If we go to
Because-
15 minutes, as this is written, if we go to the 15 minutes or it's extended, you can ask the rest of your questions, but we're not gonna, go for 2-3 hours on it, right?
Exactly. And I do
Yeah.
remember too, by the way, Mark,
Yeah.
how it works.
Yeah.
And I do not appreciate that you don't allow everybody to state their questions when you've allowed some of them to state a few more than one question or one statement or whatever you want to call them. So I'm really kind of heartbroken at the way this meeting was run tonight. And by the way, it's Karen McClinton, 281 Ambleside Drive, just so you know, everybody. And
you.
I don't appreciate you cutting people off and not sending people out if that's the way this is run now. And it's not okay that some are allowed and some aren't. And it's kind of not okay with me. It was not very nicely done. And I'm really not impressed the way you guys are adults and not conducting yourself all that way.
Okay, thank you.
You're more than welcome.
Okay, last comment from Councillor Burchett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe the motion I made was to allow people to ask as many questions as they need tonight to get through this. It was voted on.
Mr. Mayor, just for clarity, the motion was to extend question period. And I believe the extension of, pardon me, it was to extend question period. It wasn't to allow as many questions as possible, just for clarity.
Thank you. So we have clarity. Sure, last one. Sorry, to the microphone, please, because they can't hear you in the recording.
About the dog issue.
I'll follow up, council.
Okay,
Yep,
thank
thank
you.
you.
Can you follow up tomorrow? He's off on leave right now.
That's bad because
Yeah.
Council Burchett was not allowed to talk about my letter because you said that it was not put in on time. June 20th, that's plenty of time. That's my first letter. And you ignored the second one and I don't know.
Thank you. CAO, last comment?
Yeah, just for clarification, the letter I'm looking at is dated September 30th. And I just want to ensure council and the resident that we did follow up on it. And I'm sorry, there might be a gap between when someone came to the house, but we did follow up, and I will follow up with the resident again after the meeting or tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. So recommended resolution that in accordance with section 92 of the community charter, this council meeting will be closed to the public at this time in order that council may give consideration to the matters in accordance with the following section of the community charter, which is section 90-1C, labor relations and other employee relations. Thank you very much. Recommended resolutions. We need to vote.
I move that we adjourn.
No, that's for the in camera.
Sorry. I move. What are we at?
In camera.
I move that we move this meeting in camera.
Thank you. Second. Councillor Tinsley, further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Two opposed? Carried. Thank you.